Listen to the show when people these dudes bring. If you didn't know, it's an orange and blue thing. Hope to win the championship and a few rings. We're talking baseball. It's an orange and blue thing. Walk off if the game's tied like shoestrings. It's a Mets podcast, orange and blue thing. Beat the other team with defense and a few swings. LFGM, it's an orange and blue thing.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Orange Blue Thing. Darren Meenan here with Pete McCarthy. I shouldn't even say it like that. It looks like you're the sidekick or something. But Darren Meenan and Pete McCarthy here at Citi Field. You wouldn't know it, but the Mets are now – well, you wouldn't know it from looking at the ballpark here because there's no one here but us. The Mets are eight days away from starting their 2020 baseball season finally.
Well, usually they're in Florida, right? So there wouldn't be anybody here anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
But the players are here. And that's about it. I walked by the players' parking lot last week, and you can actually see inside a little bit. Gotta say, it wasn't wowed. Wasn't blown away.
By the caliber of vehicles in there, you mean?
Yes.
What'd you see? Some like
a lot of trucks.
I thought some like a Kia or something.
I probably don't know enough about cars to sit there and judge which one each is, but I didn't see the UN assessment as three-wheeler or anything like that.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Someone had a. Was it a Ferrari or something a few years ago? And I remember looking at it because you could see it from here, like the ramps, not the ramps, but the staircases that come down from the right field, upper deck area or whatever. There's no real ramps on this side, but as you're coming down, you can overlook the players' parking lot. And I can't remember who it was, but he parked like a dick, basically. He basically took up like 4 parking spots, so none of the other players would like ding his door. You know what I mean?
You want to take a guess on whose car it was?
I don't remember. I don't know.
Did you know at one point?
I probably did.
Mets fans could guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who it was, but he parked. I remember John Rouse had that gigantic blue Jeep Wrangler. He didn't really park like a prick, but this other guy, I don't know who it was, but he definitely did not park right. Anyway, enough about the parking lot here. How's your week been, Pete?
Yeah, all is well. All is well. How you doing?
I'm all right. My Twitter, I'm not verified, so my Twitter account did not get hacked last night.
It's a big day.
Yeah. We were talking about it before we went live here. If you don't know what we're talking about or you're watching or listening afterwards, last night there was this whole Twitter to-do. Some prominent accounts, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, I don't know who else you saw. Obama.
Apple.
They all basically had the same copy and pasted tweet from some hacker trying to get a bunch of currency out of some very innocent people on the internet, and they ended up getting over.
You send me 1,000, I'll send you 2,000.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Foolproof. Yeah, but it got over $100,000. I don't know who was able to track it, but over $100,000 was donated or clicked on this link and submit to someone got the money.
It's like a Bitcoin account.
Yeah.
So
do you have Bitcoin? You have that?
No, I'm not into the Bitcoin game.
Yeah, neither am I. My buddy Shu knew about Bitcoin like 10 years ago. And I guess you probably then you probably could have made some money off it. Buy it for pennies on the dollar.
Bought low, sell high, right? Like anything else, and it's as far as I know, there have been some highs and lows with it. So if you hit the right timing, then maybe you did all right with it. But I think it's I don't know how traceable it is, but it's clearly, and it's been reported as an inside job at Twitter. Like these hackers found somebody at Twitter to supply them with access to all of these accounts.
Do you have the blue check?
I used to, and then when I had WOR in my name when I was still working at the radio stations. Then when I left, I changed my handle, and once you change your handle, that's it. The check mark goes away. Yeah. And they stopped giving out new check marks basically after that. So
what it is? Like people always, I don't know how many followers we have on the Seven Lines account. It's a decent amount, but I don't understand the point of being verified. It doesn't get you anything special. I don't think you could do anything special if you have a verified account besides the check. But people are really obsessed with being verified for some reason.
Yeah, I think if you're a reporter, right, if you're Ken Rosenthal and you're breaking stories,
right,
then there's a bunch of fake Ken Rosenthals out there trying to go viral. That makes sense. The check mark is for.
But I'm talking about the everyday Joe Schmo. Who cares?
Yeah, no, you don't need it. It's nice when people put their name behind stuff that they put on the internet, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a plus. If you had the check mark, that means you probably have your real name there, right?
Right.
They've checked your driver's license. At least that's how they used to do it. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind it if it got us some special privileges, because I know like the Twitter max on a video is like 220, 2 minutes 20 seconds. I thought that I tried to be verified for a second because I thought that you could then up it to 10 minutes. I know some accounts can do like 10-minute video uploads. I would do it for that.
Now you sound like the blue check elites. Like, oh, I got my check mark. Now I got to be special. Give me some perks here. I'm in the club. Come on.
They should do it by ratio, like how many people follow you to how many you follow. But anyway, that's that. Last week I talked about I was going to go down to New Jersey and finally race. I don't know if you saw the results, but I actually came back with 2 trophies.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
It went well.
Yeah, it went pretty good. It was hot. It was like 90-something degrees. You're wearing, helmet, chest protector, goggles, gloves, full pants, boots. So I was on the verge of either passing out or throwing up like all day because I have nerves and heat. But I did good. I'm 39. I had to race the 30-plus class. I got 6th in the 30-plus class out of, I think it was 15 guys or something like that. And then in the 25-plus class, which is, 25 and over, I'm 39, there was 18 people in that. I got 5th.
Wow.
So not bad.
Let me see these trophies.
They're more plaques than trophies.
Okay.
But they're now on the mantle at my house for at least a month until Kelly gets sick of it. But it was a good time. I don't know if we even talked about this or if anyone even cares, but I did battle some pretty serious anxiety issues for a number of years. I was on daily medications, yada yada, and where it was almost crippling to a point where I couldn't be on a train unless I was in a certain seat. I didn't want to be on an airplane because of confined spaces. I didn't like to drive over bridges. So when I was young, when I raced, when I was 12 and 13, I remember being so worked up where I would throw up. I'd get that worked up, and then I'd go win the race. So it was totally a mental mind F. But 10 years ago when the 7 Line first started, I had a couple of times where I was contacted from certain media outlets, and I wouldn't do the interview if it was live because I was nervous. What if something happens? I was just I'd think about it for a week ahead of time. So I was on these pills, and I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I stopped taking them 6 years ago, cold turkey. And from being on them for a little bit, it changed my chemical balance where, knock on wood, it's been pretty good so far.
Wow, so it was a big mental challenge for you.
Yeah, it's mine. Yeah, so it's, I know I'm capable. I ride a couple times a week, but going down there, it's you're thinking the whole way I'm driving there and thinking about it. And I'm sure everyone has nerves, especially when you're doing something like that. I couldn't picture what it's like for Pete Alonso to now transfer back to baseball, because that's probably why you're watching. Pete Alonso to then stand in the box in the home run derby, his first year up as a Major League Baseball player. I can't imagine what nerves go into that.
Well, you think about someone like Zach Greinke, right, who's been open about some of the
for sure,
anxiety issues that he has had and his struggles in Kansas City, where he missed time one year to work on some things, and he's very, I guess, awkward, for lack of a better word, with the media. He doesn't enjoy the daily back and forth and things of that nature, but he's been able to have a successful Major League career despite all of that. Yeah,
I remember that coming up. I think it was maybe some point last year. He does a lot of one-word answers and stuff, and then he gets bashed for it from the probably people who don't have their names on Twitter with their accounts. And, that stuff, not everyone is as outgoing. And, if he's a good baseball player and he doesn't want to really sit down and have 20-minute conversations with the beat, then that's his, his prerogative.
You need some
right.
players to sell the game, but
right.
It doesn't have to be everybody.
Well, what about now? It's really a tough time for baseball. The press conferences are all done through Zoom. I guess the reporters aren't getting the same amount of access. So do you think, as a fan, this whole, the 60-game sprint we're going to now see, is it going to be so game-driven where there's no side stories?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of it.
What do they write about,
I know right now, and I'm saying this as a fan, right? I'm not a beat writer. I'm not in there. I'm not on these Zoom calls. I feel disconnected from what's happening with the Mets. And I guess it could be for a variety of reasons, right? One being, you're not getting those little inside scoops and stories. All the beats are getting the same information and the same interviews, so they're using the same quotes, and the stories are all relatively similar unless they go off the beaten path as far as the actual baseball goes. Also, a lot of the interest in baseball isn't just the game itself. It's a soap opera. It's 162 games every single day, right? You get to know the players' ticks. You have batting stance guy, right?
Yeah.
People know exactly how Mike Piazza held his bat and stood in the batter's box 20 years ago and can mimic it because you see it all the time. And then same thing after the game, hearing post-game interviews, quotes, whatever it is. If you think about what a player is seeing now during those interviews, instead of maybe talking to a writer one-on-one or having the scrum around them, whatever it might be, now they have Mets PR and a computer in front of them. So you're not going to get the super honest answers that are maybe the most interesting and revealing. So even if you're not a fan of the beat or some of the other stories that go around, I think you're going to miss it because you're not going to have some of those little quirky things that pop up over the course of a baseball season and keep things interesting, right? Everything is going to be cleansed in a way.
Right.
And I don't know. I just, like I said, I feel disconnected from what is happening, which is odd at a time when obviously players can tweet and do their own thing on social media, but you don't have you don't have the water cooler talk as much, right? Like, I don't see a lot of Mets fans in person at work here, there, or Yankee fans where I'm talking back and forth. If you're not seeing that many people, then it means a little less, I guess, if that's not your connection. Like, I hung out with a friend I hadn't seen in months last night. We always talk about sports. We talked about sports for like 10 minutes, and then we did 3 hours talking about other stuff going on in the world. Like, without having the sports up, that water cooler talk, however you want to put it, it's different. So that's the way I feel now. Now, look, once the games start, maybe it's a very different situation, and everything kind of comes back all at once, and we're railing about, some pitcher not trying hard enough, or whatever it is, whatever the things that come up over the course of a year. But right now, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel as important.
Yeah.
Considering everything happening in the world being one part of it, and also how our daily lives and interactions have changed.
So if you haven't seen the games once they do start up, SNY is going to broadcast 56 of them. And like Pete was just saying, that it's going to be a big difference, a big change than what we're used to. So Gary, Keith, and Ron are going to do the games from the booth for home and away games. They're going to be here doing the away games. There's only 4 exceptions. Sunday, July 26th, which is the first weekend. It's going to be the ESPN game. And then July 30th, Fox, September 19th, Fox, September 26th, Fox. But to your point with the whole the Zoom, press conferences, I'm wondering if that's also going to eliminate, like, the on-field with Gelbs after the game. Like, is Gelbs going to get to talk to...
I would guess so, because they do that in other sports. After the golf events, usually they have a longer microphone or a second microphone for the player.
Podium setup.
They could, put a headphones on these guys, and there are a variety of ways they could do that. I do think you will still get that post-game interview, but it'll be a little different. Guy hits a walk-off home run, and usually they're acknowledging the fans and, tipping their cap, whatever it might be, right? And you're not going to have a lot of that.
Yeah.
How players have talked about this. How are they going to celebrate those moments if you can't dogpile together and you have to continue to social distance and things? So, like, a lot of it's going to look different. I think that'll be an aspect, though, the Gelbs interview, that you will, you'll still get that.
So, it's a much different scenario because the NBA is trying to start back up, and they're doing the whole bubble thing. Mm-hmm. So once you're in the bubble, I guess you're in the clear. And as far as, you're never really going to be in the clear unless there's some type of magic potion or the vaccine works, if it ever comes out. But
right, the MLS, I think, is trying to bubble, and it hasn't worked
didn't work,
very
right?
well.
So they're having their issues with whatever. I don't know if it's an issue. They're still getting fed, but the food stuff has been coming out and yada yada. But that's how long would that be? So once, let's say you're in the NBA and you're going to get in the bubble and win and move on. How long do they expect these guys to be there?
I guess it'll be about 2.5 to 3 months if you go all the way.
Baseball, I guess that's also one location that's different. They're not traveling, but I guess it wouldn't work for this. But I feel like in general, the way that everyone's going to be, going about their business, whether it's the fans or the players or the press, it's just a weird year that, you have to adapt,
Yeah. Look, if you're a fan, if your favorite thing is going to the ballpark, obviously that's not going to be an option. It certainly seems. We know in Philadelphia they're not going to have any fans at baseball or football games, and I suppose things could change here, but I think that's the assumption that you have to have walking into this season. And then you're just strictly going to be watching the games on television. But then baseball falls into the rhythms of your life, right? Like, I don't know how many people sit there, lock in on a baseball game for 3 hours. I think a lot of people have it on in the background. Maybe they're playing on their phone, doing different things, playing with their kids, getting some work done, shooting off emails, whatever it is. And maybe it's more passive how you watch baseball. Well, if the rest of your life has changed now, how is baseball going to fit into it, right? We've also had 4 months, 5 months now without sports. So people have found other habits and pastimes. Maybe they just love watching Netflix shows now and realize I don't need to watch sports every night. I think all of this is, fascinating just in terms of how people's behaviors have changed, whether they're permanent, whether they're temporary. I do think opening day, you're going to see huge numbers. People are going to come back in droves to watch baseball. But then where are you on August 15th? Where are you when you start getting towards September? That's where I think it'll be more telling what people's true appetite is. And obviously the competition. You have NBA, NHL going on at the same time. Football theoretically will be ramping up.
I'm wondering, like you brought up a good point. I wonder how many people that, might be in the boat of thinking that they loved baseball, like it was their number one thing they loved in their life, and but for an entertainment side of their life. And like you said, maybe over the past 4 months, and this is the first summer they've ever had where there is no baseball, where other things kind of are occupying their time now, where games start and they're like, maybe I don't love it as much as I thought I did.
Well, look, a lot of it is social, too, and you know this with everything that the Seven Line does, and everybody hanging out at the tailgate beforehand and going in and getting to know each other over the years. If you take away the social interaction that's a part of it, not only going to the games, but also your day-to-day interactions, right? Seeing coworkers who are Yankee fans and dealing with the back and forth, and it matters that the Mets win so you can rub it in Carl's face when you get in the next day, right? Like, you lose some of that if you're not, again, having your usual routine.
Right.
So I think there's a lot to be seen. Now, clearly, the guess is from the billionaires that this isn't going to be a permanent thing, because you look at some of the numbers being thrown around for the Mets franchise and how many billionaire groups are getting involved for the sale here. Maybe not for the same money that it looked like they were going to go for back in February, but there still seems to be quite a bit enough interest that you say, they're betting that baseball is going to be back and continue to be an important part of life in this country.
You have any plans for opening day? Like, can you foresee what you might be doing next Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Well, no, I haven't thought about it, to be honest. But I'm sure I'll be on the couch watching TV with the baby next to me. Force her to watch some baseball for as long as possible. She'll be upset because I'll have to turn off the Sesame Street, but that's okay. I would think July 23rd too, with Yankees Nationals starting it up, and then Dodgers Giants. And look, I want to watch all that. I'm excited for that. I'm not a huge golf, soccer fan. Like, the sports that have come back haven't done a whole lot for me. Even if I watch like the first one, just because it's nice to see it back. So yeah, baseball coming back is gonna be huge. Get those fantasy drafts going. Got to figure all that out the next week, and there's a lot of it that I do hope that we hit opening day and it feels better and okay, like we're in. It's baseball season. Let's go. But I do think there is a lot that remains to be seen with that.
We're getting hit up constantly, at least once or twice a day, from different bars or venues or whatever that want us to come out and do something for opening day. And I keep telling everyone the same thing. Like, I don't want to put the Seven Line, myself, or the group in a position where we look irresponsible. So I would love to be at a bar with 400 friends next Friday, but it's just not in the cards. It doesn't make sense. So we probably even said this last week. Like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze or something like that. It's not worth it. Like, it's the cons far outweigh the pros when it comes to that, because I don't even trust I don't trust myself in the situation where something good happens, Pete Alonso or Jacob deGrom does something great, I'm jumping around with my buddy, and then it ends up on Twitter, and everyone points the finger that we're being irresponsible. So
you don't want to be irresponsible either.
No, I don't. I know. But I also don't want it to look a certain way, even if I'm...
look, if you have a bunch of people together and you're drinking, I think we've all experienced this hanging out in the yards, the mask goes off.
Right.
If you're drinking, you're not mask on, mask off, doing this and that. Look, it seems like if you're outside, you're relatively safe, but it's not 1,000%. And
Yeah.
you're going to get a bunch of people together, and it's one
That's
thing
a-
when
that's
it's family or friends, and you kind of talk to them beforehand to feel out what they've been doing.
Right.
Because if you have
right.
someone who's just been willy-nilly running around doing whatever the hell they want,
Right.
that's the person that you don't really want to be around in
Yeah,
any
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
close circumstance. So yeah, I think anytime, hanging out at a bar, strangers. Like I was in Astoria last night. I live in Astoria. I was on Ditmars, and it's crazy to me. Like there's just all the restaurants are basically out on the sidewalks, which is beautiful typically. But there's so many people out there. And look, I get it. If you're outside, it seems like that's a safer way to be. But once you're drinking and then eating and stuff, there's no masks, and there's a lot of people in a not very large plot of land or whatever. And I was just like, this is, the numbers haven't gone up, but it doesn't seem like a great idea. Look, everyone has different threshold for what they're willing to tolerate. But
Well, we talked about this last week. We have other people besides just ourselves to think about. So I'm sure this is probably a really weird time to be single. Single, no kids, no wife, whatever. Like you said, going out is much. I'm sure it has to be much different for someone who's single right now. But anyway, the long story short of that, with the whole getting together for opening day, it's not going to happen. But I did talk to some venues where I said if we can put something in place where there's a reservation system, whether even they have to put like $1 in the system just to make sure that they get their seat or whatever, maybe we would do that. Not for next week, but maybe at some point during the season, because then we can limit how many people are actually going to show up. We can't just say, hey, we're going to be at this bar on Friday, first 100 people to get in, whatever. Then it's going to be a mess. And then you're going to have people hanging out down the street or whatever. So if we could do it in a certain way where it's a set system in place where we know we're not biting off more than we could chew safely and legally, then stay tuned for that. But I want to give a quick shout out. I should have done this earlier. 2 things. If you share the show right now, if you're watching live on Facebook, click the little share button. If you're on Twitter, click the retweet button. And if you're watching the replay on Instagram, just comment, I want free Met stuff, I guess, because that's how we're going to do this. That's what we did last week. We had the bobblehead, the Pete Alonso bobblehead from Forever Collectibles. And the 3 winners for that, on Twitter, we have Beach RJZ Man. You are a winner. On Facebook, Justin Yu. Congrats to Justin.
Yeah, Justin.
And on Instagram, Zach_Parise, Parise. I will hit you guys up today after today's show. Get your address and mail you out that bobble from Foco. If you want some free Met stuff, though, just you have until next week. So that's the way we work our share contest now. We don't do randomly scrolling through our cell phones trying to pick a winner. This is still done randomly, but you now have a full week to try to get in on the share contest. So this week, you're going to get some free Met stuff from the 7 line. I'll hit you up for your size, and I'll put a bunch of stuff in a box and mail it out to you. Also, quick shout out to our friends from the Dugout Mugs. Dugout Mugs has been a partner of ours for a bit now. They make excellent mugs made out of baseball bats, and they have a whole bunch of different options where you can get the mug. They make wine mugs. They make bottle what do they call this? Knob shots. A whole bunch of different stuff, and you can also get them customized. So hit up dugoutmugs.com. But really cool offer they're doing, I think for the first 100. They did this last year for us as well. They're giving away a free knob shot. So the bottom of the baseball bat is cut. They hollow it out, and it is a shot mug. I'm not going to say glass. It's not glass. A shot mug. They call it the knob shot. So all you got to do to get in on this offer is go to dugoutmugs.com/knob shot promo. All one word, knob shot promo. You get this for free. It's normally $24.50. You just have to pay the shipping and handling, which is $8.95. So head on over, pick one up for yourself or a loved one. If you happen to know someone who is not a Mets fan and you're still friends with them, you can get one of them a knob shot for free if you'd like.
Get a good bourbon. You taste the wood a little bit.
Get one for yourself. I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to get a little close here, but that's what it looks like. Very cool. Thank you to Dugout Mugs. And Pete, last night, I know you saw the tweet because I think you liked it. I wrote that, I'm asking for 2 friends. Is it okay to drink at 10 a.m. in the parking lot? And I only got one person to reply no. The majority of the ones were, hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, yada, yada. One person said, why don't you get a iced coffee instead? But we are not doing that. We have our beers from Coors Light. Thank you to Coors Light. I've definitely tailgated and had beers this early. Cheers to you, Pete.
Cheers.
and I needed that. I was getting a little parched.
Yes.
You know, I had an ice-cold Coors Light waiting for me in my cooler after the race on Sunday, too.
Did you?
Yeah. Kelly and Shu were drinking during the day. You know, they weren't getting hammered. We were there all day. I think it was like an 18-hour day for me. But I wasn't drinking while I was racing. But afterwards, and I came back with my two trophies, I had my nice cold Coors Light waiting for me. So Coors Light, I want to let you guys know how you can get your beer delivered now. Go to getcoorslight.com. Getcoorslight.com, and they have a cool thing where you type in your zip code. You can find out how you can get your beer delivered. And with baseball starting up next week, you're definitely going to want to partake. So hit reset and chill with a Coors Light, next week, all summer, for the rest of your life. Whenever you want to grab a beer, hit up Coors Light.
How about going for the tall boys?
Yeah,
the
right?
Tall boys, the bodegas.
I don't know if you can get the tall
brown
boys
bag it in
delivered.
the park for a little bit. I mean, it's not bad living these days.
Laws are out the window. We talked about it last week. Just people drinking on the street, doing whatever they want. One of the
Clean
Mets,
up after yourself. That's the A
absolutely.
number one. I'm at the playground every day with the baby. She picks up every bottle cap, every piece of garbage that's out there. Just keeping Astoria clean, I guess. But that's it. That's all. Just clean up after yourself afterwards. But yeah, it's nice.
One of my
Sit
buddies
outside.
with the Mets actually rolled by in his golf cart here when I was getting set up. He's like, "Hey, Darren, what's up?" And he looked in. He thought I was live. I'm like, "No, I'm just getting set up." He's like, "You want some water?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I got beers." And he looked at me kind of like, "Beer? It's 10:08. It's actually at that point it was like 9:30 on a
It's a
Thursday.
pandemic. We're living day to day. Come on. It's 10:30. Who cares?
I was in Port Jeff yesterday. Kelly and I went for a little afternoon coffee date. We popped into one of the places down there, but across the street was, I think, Billy's or one of those bars down in Port Jeff. It was packed. Thursday, packed, doors open, windows open, and people just sitting in the bar. I'm like, I guess that's the life we live now. It's there is no weekends anymore. There is no Mondays for a lot of people. It's kind of just living, going through the day, and this is the life we live now. I guess
Survive in advance.
happy hours all day. So let's get into the Jacob deGrom scare from a couple days ago. They were doing the sim game. He lasted, an inning, came out with some back tightness. This is nothing new for Jacob. I think he's had some back issues in the past, or at least some tightness in the past. Do you think if this was a regular game scenario, he'd still be out there, or do you think that this is just a precautionary thing?
I would imagine it's precautionary, but what I think it'll be interesting about it going forward is typically during a 162-game season, you could say, Jacob, take whatever time you need. If you miss 2-3 starts, no big deal. Come back mid-April, ready to go. You have all those off days early on, so it's not like you're replacing him in the rotation with the, name your sixth starter. In this case, you have a 60-game season. You want to get him ramped up so he can pitch, 6 innings for you right away, which is not easy to do throughout this. So maybe now, even if he does come back, he's only giving you 4 innings, 5 innings. But then do you become more aggressive in getting him on the field? Because best case scenario, he's making 13 starts this year.
Yeah.
And it probably wouldn't even make that. So if he misses even 2 starts, that's a huge chunk of what you're hoping to get out of Jacob deGrom. So I do think that the math, the risk tolerance of, okay, let's be cautious, kind of goes out the window to some degree. And, you're of course going to be careful with Jacob deGrom. You want to make sure he's 100%. But it's really costly, even if he's only going to miss a couple of starts, a couple of weeks to begin the year. Now, thankfully in the past, 2018, for example, he missed opening day, but he pitched game 2. So it wasn't a big deal. He really didn't lose anything that year. So you hope this is similar to that and it won't cost them a whole lot of time. It's just, again, now I think the concern would be the ramp up where you're trying to get everything going so quickly and get your pitch count up in a safe manner. And instead of having a month and a half to do it, you have 3 weeks. So I don't think you're going to see any 8-inning performances from Jacob deGrom early on.
So, obviously right when it happens, you think, you take a deep breath. Oh, here we go, But he did go for an MRI, and reports came back that the MRI was clean. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully this isn't something that lingers. Like you said, we got to get our horses out there off to a good start because we can't afford a slow start. And,
and the pitching isn't as deep as it's been in the past. Now, you don't have Noah Syndergaard. You don't have Zach Wheeler. So you start looking at those 5th, 6th starters. Now, they had Waka and Porcello as depth. Well, those guys are both in the rotation now, and you start looking past them, there's not a whole lot there. So if Jacob deGrom's going to miss time, not only do you not have Jacob deGrom, you're replacing him with not a very good pitcher. So it is extremely costly. And it's not like you can just, throw the bullpen. We'll bullpen our way through it. They play 30 games in 31 days to start the season. You can't be burning through your whole bullpen either once every 5 days. So it's imperative for the Mets especially to keep what's left of their rotation healthy and on the field.
So we saw, I think it was yesterday, the day before, Cespedes out there showing off his skills. And, there's no question that Yoenis Cespedes is a fantastic athlete. But do you want to see him out in the field, or would you rather he just goes up there and tries to match baseballs?
No, I think DH, yeah. I'm with you. And look, it would be nice if he could play the outfield, but it's not necessary now. It was necessary when we were talking about this and looking at this back in February, and he was going to have to be able to play the field to some degree in order to hit because you didn't have the DH. Now that you have the DH, changes. He could be the full-time DH. And other teams might have the ability to mix it up and give guys days off, and that's great. But, look, if Pete Alonso needs a day off, which maybe he won't over the course of 60 days, but, okay, so he sits on the bench. He's available to pinch hit later. So be it. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to mix in that DH if you have someone like Yoenis Cespedes. And Michael Conforto said he looked like a monster a few weeks back. Cespedes proclaimed this weekend that he is ready, and he'll play the outfield if it comes up, which kind of tells you I think that he's not going to be out there a whole lot. I think running the bases is going to be an issue for Cespedes too, and we'll have to see what that looks like. But the fact that Yoenis Cespedes can come back, be in the lineup almost every day, right? He should be able to play 5-6 days a week if all he's doing is DHing. And he's not the most feared hitter in the lineup. He doesn't have to carry things anymore. You think about the Mets lineup, Cespedes probably hits fifth, right? You probably go Nimmo, McEwing, and then Alonso, Conforto, Cespedes. That's the way that I would draw it
McNeil.
What did I say? Nimmo, McNeil.
McEwing.
Oh, did I say McEwing?
Yeah, a little flashback.
Throwing it back. All right. So, Nimmo, McNeil, and then Alonso, Conforto, and Cespedes. Look, he's hitting fifth for you. And if he goes 0 for 4 in the past, the Mets are scoring, 2 runs?
Right.
Now, you have other threats in this lineup. So, look, this lineup's going to be deep. It's going to be good as long as Cespedes is out there. And now having the option of a full-time DH and apparently how he looks, you could see him playing 50 games. Whereas that was unthinkable that he could play 5 out of every 6 games going into the season when you had to think of him playing left field.
I don't know what kind of traction SNY usually gets on their videos, but that clip I just played, if you're watching live, 1.2 million views.
Well, it's played about 1,000 times in the last few minutes. You just let it run.
Well,
it's
I don't think
4-second clip.
I don't think it counts the 6 times. I mean, I probably watch it 100 times on loop over here already. It's very impressive, but I don't think that. I think that's individual. I don't really know how the view count counts on that. But like before, I was saying the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I don't think having him out there, even if it does keep him loose, is worth it. I think that we need his bat, and
I agree.
Just get him in the box.
Hey, he's going to have to be pinch run for late in games often, I think, to try to keep him fresh, and maybe you do take him out if the Mets are down 6 runs, up 6 runs, right, and try to prevent him from running the bases. I think that'll be the key. But besides that, it seems like all systems go. As long as he can get into the batter's box and do what he's got to do. Well, he hit a home run this weekend. He didn't even he didn't circle the bases, bother doing that. I mean, it would be curious to see when he's got to leg out that double, what he looks like. Now, in the past, he wouldn't bust it until he had to.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you see him flying around the bases. He could cut corners like nobody else. I don't know how much you see that or if that's even in there for him.
Well, how about last year Cano wasn't busting it, then they told him you got to bust it, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But
Cano is back too, by the way.
That's what was up with that? He was just late addition? They don't really talk. They can't talk about it,
guess is as good as
right?
mine. Look, there's going to be a lot of secrecy. I don't know. Maybe that's too strong a word, but
privacy matters.
Privacy is probably a better word for it regarding what's happening with these guys. The guys are just going to disappear for periods of time. They're going to be on the injured list, and none of the beat writers, talking to Tim Britton of The Athletic, they don't want to speculate. Nobody wants to sit there and speculate who has what. And so you're not going to know, right? The NHL, I saw a report on Twitter they've basically explained to the teams how to describe it. And you basically just say he's not available or whatever. So that's what you're going to have. And then does that lead to maybe you don't get a lot of information on a regular injury? It doesn't seem like the case with Jacob deGrom. They say back tightness, and that was there for everybody to see. But again, I just think the information that gets to the fans is going to be a lot different this year than it's been in the past. And I know it's easy to say, who cares? I don't need the writers. I don't need, the media stuff. But I do think that a lot of it does play into, some of the soap operas, some of the fun things that go around. Even if they're frustrating, even if they make you upset, part of that is the experience of a long season and having the ups and the downs. I don't think they're going to be quite as dramatic this year.
Well, I think, back to what we were talking about earlier, the material is so limited now because they're all getting the same answers. But what bothers me more, it shouldn't bother me because it's so silly at this point. I hate when the Mets put out the lineup. Every single reporter puts out the lineup. Yeah. I don't know. I guess maybe do they have to do that? I have no idea.
Nobody has to.
It's weird. It's really weird. Like, I don't follow XYZ beat guy or gal because.
Well, it happened yesterday with Jacob deGrom. When the deGrom update came up, that there's nothing that concerning for the Mets. Boom. Yeah. Everybody has it within 10 minutes of one another, and then
not even
the ones who didn't get it initially got it confirmed from source or whatever it is. And if you're just on your Twitter timeline, you follow all these people. It's annoying,
right.
But. I think you have to look at it, too, from their perspective. Like, I want to be the only beat writer that people follow for Mets news. So I have to put it out every time.
I think when it's done a little bit differently or creatively. Like, I always liked Mark Carrig when he was following the Mets. And, Como was a friend of ours. But I don't want to single out certain ones over the others. But,
okay.
The other thing, I think, was like the Pete Alonso. I guess they've been having certain players, spaced out of when they can speak with the press or the beat or whatever. And Pete Alonso said something like, "I'm geeked out to play," and everyone's writing the quotes. Pete Alonso's geeked out, whatever his thing was, whatever he said. It's just like, do you really need them all writing the exact same thing? But I know there's no interesting angle right now. I think that's what we're going to get a lot of. But
well, you're kind of allowed to see what the team is allowing you to see, and it's more difficult to get those stories, quotes, information, see things with your own eyes when you're quarantined in the press box. I mean, look at the pictures that you see on Twitter. They're like from a million miles away.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit last week, but when that comebacker from Stanton hit Masahiro Tanaka, it was the yes video that everybody saw. But if all you were going by was the video from the press box, it wouldn't look nearly as horrific from 1,000 feet away as a lot of these videos look, right? Again, it's another reason why maybe you don't feel as connected until you have even the Cespedes catch there, right? That's not a media member in the press box. It's something that the Mets were able to put out after the fact.
Right, so, right.
Again, you're getting what the teams are putting out there rather than necessarily what's happening.
I'm wondering how the broadcast is going to feel or sound, or when you're watching the away game, for instance, and Gary, Keith, and Ron are here, and the Mets are playing in Boston. Is it going to feel the same if you're just watching the game, like as if they were there? I don't think so.
I think they'll adjust very quickly. I think there will be times. Look, Gary Cohen, I know this. He'll tell you if there's something that he can't see that he otherwise would be able to, because he's done that a lot, right? He corrects the graphics when they're out there. I mean, he tells you, he's pretty open book about when things don't go to plan on the broadcast often. So I do think that you will get that, and if it is a problem, you'll probably get some exasperation from him along the way. But I also watched them call MLB The Show. SNY did opening day.
How was that? I didn't watch it.
It wasn't even opening day. It was a later game in the season. They decided to have the guys do it remotely. It was cool. It was kind of comforting at the time, right? To actually hear Gary, Keith, and Ron call a game, even if it's a video game. But also the analysis from Keith and Ron where they're pointing out little things that are wrong in the game. And I think it was even Gary that pointed out Brandon Nimmo got hit by a pitch and he didn't sprint to first base in the video game. They got that wrong. Yeah, some of that was fun. So I enjoy that. And considering they were working remotely, they weren't stepping on each other, they have built up so much chemistry. Now, as far as I know, they will be in the same room. They'll be at a studio either here at SNY. So they'll have the eye contact to be able to see one another. But they have enough of a feel that I think they'll be just fine. I think probably the other aspect, or the aspect that'll hurt the most, is Gary Cohen and Keith and Ron are usually at the manager availabilities all day, and they have access to the players, right? And Gary almost always asks a question. He and Howie almost always have a good question for whoever the manager is at the given time. They're not going to have that access now if they are not at the ballpark.
Then bring it up during the broadcast.
So I do wonder if they'll have the same insight and information for some of those road games to be able to bring to the table. Again, bringing back, how connected are you going to feel to the team when you don't know as much about what is happening? And it's strictly going to be talking about between the lines, the baseball, but even the insight of like why a manager went with Edwin Diaz in the 9th inning instead of this other guy. Sure, you'll get the post-game answer, but you're not going to get that insight the next day, the follow-up, who's going to be the next closer, right? Like a lot of these things that happen, how Dom Smith is being handled as a bench bat, whatever it might be. Just these little things that come up that you know about and causes you maybe to root for a certain player or root against a certain player. I'm not sure you're going to have all those tidbits and information to the same depth that you often would. It's impossible to have the same information.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that because it's you've seen the Gary, Keith, and Ron even walk through the locker room before a game and chat with a guy at his locker, and you're not going to get that, like you just said, you're not going to get that on the broadcast anymore. So I'm wondering how that's going to work out. But I'm interested to see it. I know out of those three, one guy's probably the most excited that they're going to do it from here is probably Keith. He doesn't have to travel that far now to go back to Sag Harbor every day. I don't know, unless he got a spot closer to the stadium now. He's going to be here, exclusively. But I don't know. Either way, we were talking a little bit about the injury bug here, and I want to bring up a segment or one of the questions from last night's Big Apple Trivia with our girl Julia Q, J Quad. She hosted. It's last night was our 3rd episode of Big Apple Trivia, and one of the questions was a game that she is calling, or not a game, but a question she's calling Name the Injury, Name the Player. So she would name a random either injury, sickness, illness, or whatever, and you had to say what the player was.
Gosh.
So if you're listening afterwards and you're not seeing the video, you can go watch it on our Instagram. But it's live on Instagram every Wednesday night. It's called Big Apple Trivia, 6 o'clock Eastern. So when the game starts, it's going to be almost like a pregame right before the game starts. And the way you play is you can either answer in the chat. So she'll verbally say a question, and you can answer in the chat for a $10 gift card to the 7 Line, or you could play and be on the show. So you just request to go live. So last night I think there was like 6 or 7 contestants, and if you answer 4 questions correctly, you get $50.
And if you have a cool hat, you got to show it off.
Absolutely. So let's listen to this from last night.
I'm going to read off a list of bizarre injuries or illnesses that only a past or present New York Met could have possibly endured. In 60 seconds, you need to identify 7 of these players from their bizarre illness or injury. I think you can do it, okay?
So you're going to name the injury. I have to name the player. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Injury or illness, okay?
Okay, sure.
We're going to start a little easy. Time will start after I finish reading the first one, okay?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Injured shoulder in a taxi cab accident.
Dwyer Sanchez.
Correct.
Can I play?
Fractured wrist from falling off a sidewalk curb.
Jerry.
Pass.
Oh, it's Blevin.
Alleged food poisoning from chicken he cooked himself.
Brendan Nimmo.
Correct. Broke both ankles in an incident with a wild boar.
Seth.
You only said
There's only one, but
Correct.
it's okay.
Had to leave the game to take a shit.
Pass.
Severed part of his fingers with a hedge trimmer.
Bobby Hita.
Correct. Valley fever.
Ike Davis.
Correct. Prolonged a concussion by boarding a team airplane.
Ryan Church.
Correct. You need one more. Hit in the dick with a Justin Verlander fastball with no cup on.
Wilma Flores.
No.
it's your
Broke
daddy.
wrist while moving furniture.
Shit. Duda.
Yes, correct. You got it.
Wow.
Awesome job.
Nicely done.
Who left the
And
game
you know
taking a
what's
shit?
so pathetic is that there's still so many left that I'm going to do this question
I
again
was
at one
waiting
point.
for people forget, the Luis Castillo hurt his ankle.
So that's a little part of last night's game. I didn't know about the
That's
Bobby
well
Ojeda.
put together, yeah.
With the hedge. Julia's great. She's a star. So I struck. Yeah, I've known Julia for a long time now, but with this, it's almost like kind of struck gold with her and Herm being so great at what they do. So Herm has been doing our art classes remotely from Brooklyn. Julia's now doing the trivia on Instagram, and I feel like I almost have like one foot out the door. Everyone else is taking over now. It's not just on my shoulders anymore. Which I don't want to say that this whole thing has been a one-man show. Lizzie's been great. You got Megan working in the warehouse. We had Adam in the past. a bunch of people have worked in the warehouse, PJ and so on and so forth. But as far as the content side, like we've been doing this, and there hasn't been more than just like one show a week. Now we have like 4 because we're doing bingo Mondays, the trivia show, the art show, orange and blue thing. So there's a lot going on, and the content machine is kind of running, and I'm loving it. I liked watching that last night from my couch when I knew I had like nothing. It was on the Seven Lines Instagram, but I had nothing to do with it. I thought that was great. She's been doing a great job, and I've been having fun with it. So I don't know if this is a segue here, but I want to you could let the people know what's going on. You're moving. You're leaving New York.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're dipping our toe in the waters. We're gonna Airbnb for a couple months down in North Carolina. See how it is. Have a little space for the baby to run around a little bit. So try some things down there, see if we like it, and we could always come back, and we're putting our stuff at storage basically, or stay down there. But it seemed like a better idea probably 2 months ago before it kind of blew up in the South with the virus and all that. But yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. I mean, look, job-wise, without sports, it's been tough. And if you're going to be underemployed and you don't have access to daycare, my wife works remotely now, so we have the ability to move. I take care of the baby during the day, and then I can do some things remotely, some things I can't. But, like I said, it's been I think kind of in the cards over the last few months. And if you look at it and say you can pay rent in New York City or pay rent somewhere else,
You get a full house,
have the same
yard.
amount of money coming in, maybe buy a house, something like that, it's worth looking into. So that's what we're looking at. And I looked it up, MLB.TV. I'm not blacked out except when they play the Braves and the Nationals, so then I'll have to find a workaround. But otherwise, I'll be able to watch the Met games.
So as far as Orange and Blue thing is concerned, Pete and I got a couple more shows here, and then we're going to try to work on something that Pete could do from his new spot for the time being. I feel like the Orange and Blue thing, like we talked about this too, like we wouldn't be getting the same back and forth if we were doing it through Zoom or something. So I feel like as far as this is concerned, Orange Blue things can continue. It's been more than fun. I couldn't even put words on how much fun I've been having the past, now year and almost a year and a half with you on this. But, like Foley said, it's not like the end of the game, which is like the end of the inning. We'll figure something else out. But, this is so much fun for me. So thank you for everything over the past
it's been great. I appreciate
year and a half.
All that you've done for me and doing this show and having an outlet to express my Mets angst opinions, whatever it might be, after the radio show ended, the Mets changed stations. So this has been fantastic and a lot of fun all the way. And I like the Coors Lights and the beers over the last couple of years, so it's not bad.
Speaking of just like property values and how freaking expensive New York is, I was doing a little research. I was thinking about going up to Winchester, New Hampshire soon for a motocross race. Mm-hmm. Just looking for things to do, yada yada. I was Googling. And in the search, something came up about real estate. I happened just to click it, just see how much houses are worth up there. I saw last night, actually. It's like basically a mansion. It's got a full-size basketball court in the back. It's got fire pits. The backyard's done beautifully. Indoors, they have a putting area and a indoor hot tub, whatever. And it's on like 8 acres. And it's like 400 and change. You can't even get like a studio for that in New York.
No, it's a lot. Well, I love Queens. My wife and I looked at buying a place since last summer in Queens, and it's like 700 plus
Insane.
Just starting costs. Like the worst place for a house is a lot of money. So yeah, and once you're living in a world where maybe my wife can work remotely and do whatever, I don't know. It starts to become a lot more attractive to look elsewhere, especially, again, you have a young child and you're not sure how things are going to look going forward. So, again, it's tricky. It's not an easy decision, but
that's why I moved to Suffolk County.
I'm comfortable with it now.
Yeah,
Look, I grew up in Suffolk County. I grew up, in East Islip, not far from where you are in Patchogue now. And that was, a consideration, but if you're going to bounce.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the Long Island Railroad.
Right. I hear you.
I work crazy hours over the last year, freelance and overnights on the fan, and 6 days a week, multiple shifts a day. Sometimes I would go in the city during the day and then be home for a couple hours and then go back out. It was nice in Queens to do that. You can't be doing that in Suffolk. I'll never see anybody.
So the same town, a 36-acre lot. That's huge. How much do you think you can get 36 acres of land in Winchester, New Hampshire?
Just the land?
Just the land. But, I mean, you could build if you're a contractor, if you have the skills, you could build a brand new house for pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, is it even 6 figures? I guess so.
No. It's less than a new car.
I mean, look, it's just
36 acres, $24,000.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So you get out of New York, your dollar goes a long way. If you don't want to go to Costa Rica, I know Costa Rica, the dollar goes a long way in Costa Rica. Anyway, yeah, no, but all the best to you and the fam. I think it's a smart decision. If I was in your shoes, I'd probably do the exact same thing. And especially
I've heard a lot of
a
that,
young kid,
which has been a little surprising. I don't know.
What, that they would do the same thing?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people said good for you, like that kind of thing, rather than, what are you thinking with that? Why would you leave? Like, New York has this and that. Because right now, New York doesn't have anything. Like, right? I mean, a lot of the things that you love about New York just aren't there.
Right.
You can't go to the games or, go to Broadway or whatever the heck you would do, go to the bars, restaurants, all that kind of stuff to the same degree. So, like I said, I mean, we'll try it out, see if we like it. I love the subway. I'll miss the subway, man.
You'll be back.
$3, go wherever you want. Now I gotta have a car.
So speaking of access earlier, and the responses that the press or the beat has been getting through Zoom with the players, 30 for 30, ESPN is putting together a multi-part series about the '86 Mets, which they just announced recently. Do you think that they're going to just get the same answers or the same stories that you read in like The Bad Guys Won or something like that, or is this going to be anything different?
That's a good question. Right? Are we
We've
going to
heard
find
these stories. Is there anything new going to come out?
I'll tell you, I loved SNY. They played Game 6 of the '86 World Series and had all of the players like dropping in on the Zoom call, and most of them are hanging out in their back deck, like drinking beers. Howard Johnson, like a big cigar.
Yeah. And
they're just kind of busting on each other for what they're doing during the games and remembering these at-bats and these moments. So it was fantastic. I would highly recommend watching that if they still have it available on the site, which I'm sure they do. But, the 30 for 30, I got to think they'll find something. They have to have an angle in order to put this together. But even if it is a lot of the same stories, to have the video component with it and going back and seeing, what led up to the fight with Eric Davis, right? Or some of these moments that occur over the course of the year, maybe like the news reports of what happened when the players were arrested in Houston. They'll find some archival footage and things of that nature that'll be like, oh, that's kind of cool to see and to take in. And remember, it's for different generations as well. Not everybody has read The Bad Guys Won.
Right.
Not everybody's read all these books. I mean, that book now has been out almost 20 years.
Is that Perlman?
Yeah, Jeff Perlman. So, a lot of this stuff has been around for a while, and for a lot of people, they know Keith Hernandez from the SNY broadcast. They might be surprised to learn some of the, the behaviors of that team from 1986. But maybe it'll be more for a national audience rather than for Mets fans who already know this team. But I think it'll be cool to have it memorialized to a degree where you get another chance to relive it.
Have you seen it's on Vimeo. I don't know if they're a competitor, but similar to YouTube. It's called Vimeo. Did you see the edit? I think it's like 10 minutes long. I'm Keith Hernandez.
No.
It's fantastic. Somebody put together like a mini. It's half of it's like satire and half of it's real. It's incredible. Look it up if you guys have any interest. I'm Keith Hernandez. I'll send you the link. I'm probably not really building it up correctly, but it's really funny. It's almost like a mini documentary just about Keith. It's really funny. You guys should check it out. But so a couple of days ago, it almost felt back to normal, where I got a phone call from News 12 because they are doing a story about businesses that are open. So they're trying to highlight different businesses that are doing their thing. And with baseball knocking on our door, they selected the 7 Line as a local business that they wanted to highlight. So that's going to be out tomorrow, and I can't thank News 12 enough for shining a little light on the 7 Line and giving us a little platform to get the word out that we're still in business. But I had the idea in the same breath when I got the phone call from them to ask Twitter, actually put it on the Orange and Blue Thing Twitter account for maybe some small businesses in the area that are owned by Mets fans that might want a little free plug here. So I said you can either reply to this tweet or DM me, and someone DM'd me with, he said, this is my sister's lingerie business. Here's the Instagram handle. I clicked it. I wouldn't really even call this lingerie. It was like it was sheer. I didn't think you could put nudity on Instagram, so I'm not going to plug that one because I don't know if that was true or not. But I picked a few here. MasterAutoLocksmith.com. That's our buddy John Salazar. He works all throughout the area. Great locksmith, and he actually helped a couple Mets players out when they locked their keys in their cars once before. So it's I don't know if it's just it is MasterAutoLocksmith.com. John Salazar. Blue Line Deli in Huntington. It's owned by a guy named Donald Rosner, who is a Mets fan and also a gigantic Islanders fan. The whole place is decked out orange and blue. The L in Blue Line is a hockey stick. They've done a bunch of stuff with the Islanders as well. Give them check them out. And the third one here for this week, maybe we'll do this every week, I don't know, but I picked a few that stood out. Extreme Carpets in Brooklyn, New York. Brad said his dad owns the company, made him a big Mets fan. And I don't know if they have a website, but if you need some carpets done, 718-257-9666. Hit them up. All different businesses in the area owned by Mets fans. So just trying to give back because, News 12 did a nice thing. I'm trying to help you guys out as well. So
that's great.
We pretty much hit our whole list here of little things to talk about for the week. Mets versus Yankees this weekend. They're going to be playing here on Friday night and Saturday at Yankee Stadium. Baseball is back somewhat. Finally. It's been a long break. I can't wait until next Friday. I was thinking, if you're listening afterwards and you missed the beginning or weren't paying attention, we are in the Seven Lines truck, which is now fully outfitted with internet and the whole nine. We're running off a generator right now, and I got the mobile hotspot. I might just bring the truck home next Friday and just park this in my driveway and just watch. There's a television on the outside of this thing. Just watch it outside and pretend I'm here. Instead of just being inside on the couch. I don't know. And I love the authenticity of at least for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be here doing the show, hearing the trains, hearing the planes fly overhead.
Yeah, transportation capital of the world, right over Citi Field, right in this area. So, yeah, no, it's great setup. I mean, it's cool for us, too, having the view of the stadium as we're doing the show. We've got, the truck opens up. See, we were open air on three sides here. It's fantastic.
All right, guys. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to share the show if you want some free Mets stuff. Also, if you're listening afterwards on SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, all that stuff, rate, review, subscribe, share the show. And thanks to Coors Light, thanks to Dugout Mugs. Don't forget, if you want one of these free knob shots, go to dugoutmugs.com/knobshot. Promo, all one word. They are normally $24.50. They are going to be free. You just got to pay the shipping and handling. So that's it from us at Citi Field. We'll see you guys next week. And that's it. Let's go Mets.